Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, where the hell you're listening to this. You're listening to Nerds Talking Sports Pod with Dad Bods. This is your host, Jackknife, alongside your other host, Timmy Horton. No Tommy Joe this week. He had a very rough week at work. So it's just Timmy and I, just going, the two of us. We're doing audio only today. Tim, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. You know, had a little week hiatus. You know, we thought we were going to record last week, but we let the fans down. But that's the topic of this week's episode, letdowns, and we'll get into why in a little bit. But first, let's fulfill our sponsorly obligations. This episode is brought to you by Recoil Garage, your local diesel fleet and performance specialist right here in Howell, New Jersey. Recoil Garage handles everything from everyday repairs to high-performance builds. Over 15 years of mechanical experience, we've got the skills to keep you moving. Recoil Garage delivers quality you can trust. They provide comprehensive vehicle services such as motorcycle and power sports service, automotive repair, performance upgrades and custom builds, diesel diagnostics and repair, marine and boat repair work, and fleet maintenance programs. Whether it's your weekend toy or your daily driver, we treat every vehicle like our own. Recoil Garage has merch too. You can buy t-shirts, hoodies, and sticker packs straight from their online store. Visit recoilgarage.com. That's recoilgarage.com to book your service today. So, to further build upon with what we're going to talk about this week's episode, disappointments. You know, fans listening to this, you might be disappointed that we didn't talk last week. You might be disappointed not seeing our beautiful faces on camera this week. It'll get resolved again shortly. The reason why I want to talk about disappointments, letdowns, you know, that may resonate with us, mostly in sports, but, you know, maybe in other things in pop culture, was because 2 weeks ago, you know, we had a good time. Tim, you came over, so did Tom, Justin, Justice.
Yep,
you know?
It was a good time.
Yeah. You guys went home, and the UFC pay-per-view, well, it's not pay-per-view anymore. Now it's on Paramount Plus.
Still got to pay to view it, technically.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But it's like cable. It's not like you're making an individual purchase to... It's not like you're making a one-time purchase kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. It was great. Patty the Baddie got a submission, and I thought I was going to fall asleep like that night, but you know what? This was Conor McGregor's return to UFC. And listen, I've followed UFC a lot growing up, Tim, but I never saw Conor McGregor fight live.
Yeah, when we were watching UFC last week or 2 weeks ago, that's the first time I've really tuned into UFC. And I got to say, it's very, really cool to watch. I thought the heavyweight fight was really good, to be honest with you. I was like, oh man, this guy is going at it. I would never want to get punched in the face by one of those guys.
Absolutely. I've been to one of those events. Not UFC, but it was like Cage Fury or something. One of my brother-in-law's, you know, his friends fight. Do you remember Gabby Galante?
Yeah, I remember Gabby Galante.
I saw her brother fight.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was like, Nick Galante, I wonder if he's related. And then she posts on her story, like him, like after the fight. I'm like, oh crap, that was pretty cool. But yeah, this was supposed to be Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway, a rematch. And this is McGregor's first fight in UFC after a retirement, like maybe 5-ish years ago.
About 5 years, yeah.
Yeah. Conor McGregor goes in the ring. He immediately tries to do some kind of like, you know, kick in the air, and he lands awkwardly. And, you know, at that point you could tell something's wrong. He gets back up, he tries to do some kicks again, he falls again. And then it happens again. And then he tries to do another move, and that's when he just couldn't do it. He didn't fall this time, but the ref saw enough, was like, I gotta stop the match. You are in no condition to fight.
Yeah, I saw some interesting video footage about, like, before when he was coming into the ring, like before when he's like, you know, they're walking up and stuff. He was already limping. Which, it's like, maybe he thought he could push through, um, or it was staged. It probably wasn't staged, but
I mean, it's UFC definitely isn't WWE scripted, but I mean, Zach was talking in our group chat. He thinks, you know, combat sports are probably the easiest to rig in that kind of sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was my first time ever seeing Conor McGregor fight live. The closest to other opportunity I had was back when I still worked at ESPN, but it was at the end of my shift, and I just wanted to go back to my apartment, and I couldn't stay to watch it. I tried to find another way to watch it, and all I found was some guy screaming as McGregor knocked out Cowboy Cerrone, so I didn't even get to see it.
Oh dang.
But yeah, I was hoping to see. Listen, he was retired, but I was still up to see Conor McGregor in an actual fight, and I'm like, oh, no, that was disappointing.
And here we are talking about big old disappointments in
Yes,
sports and other esports too.
yes. So I'll give my first sports example. And Tim, after I talked to you before we started recording, and the fact you didn't pick up on it, I mean, you are on the wavelength. You were right that it is Jets related. But probably the biggest sports letdown of my life, September 11th, 2023. Aaron Rodgers runs out there with the American flag, first game as a New York Jet. And listen, I was skeptical on the hiring, but I was skeptic of them bringing him in. But after the one drive he had against the Giants in the preseason, I'm like, he's got it. He's still got it. The Jets are actually going to be good. 4 snaps later, he gets tackled by one of the Bills' defenders. It was an incomplete pass. And you just see him standing on the field, hands on his hips. I'm like, what's going on? That doesn't look right. And then my heart sank when his ass hit the turf because he was hurt. And listen, usually when someone, I mean, granted, there was contact here, but usually if it's like a big hit, they stay down. Him getting back up showed like this was a non-contact, quote-unquote non-contact injury, and much more serious. He got carted off the field, and the Jets would, by some divine miracle, win that game. But the next day, the season was over because Aaron Rodgers ruptured his Achilles. So, year 1 of Aaron Rodgers as a Jet was done after 4 plays. And then year 2 of Aaron Rodgers happened, and he just was not as advertised. And listen, obviously, Tim, you're more partial to him. You are the Packers fan of the group, and I don't blame you for still being partial to him. But I view Aaron Rodgers the same way a Vancouver Canucks fan might view Mark Messier in a sense. If you get at all what I mean by that.
Yeah, I mean, he joined this team and then he kind of just didn't do what he said, and then after he leaves, he talks a lot of smack.
Well, he didn't know. No, well, Messier didn't. I don't recall Messier ever talking smack. But listen, Mark Messier was a rival to Vancouver Canucks when he was with the Oilers. They were division rivals. He won 5 Stanley Cups with the Oilers. Then he goes to the Rangers, wins the Stanley Cup with the Rangers, beating the Vancouver Canucks in the Stanley Cup final. And then he signs with the Vancouver Canucks. And his tenure in Vancouver was very disappointing. And then he ended up going back to the Rangers. So it's okay, Vancouver Canucks fans are okay, you're terrible. You beat us whenever you face us. You're a notoriously dirty player. Listen, I love Mark Messier, but yeah, he was an asshole. And then you join us, and then you are a big disappointment. Fuck you. And there was there was other things, taking the number of a player who was unofficially retired, number 11, but he won a number 11, but that was for a Canucks player who from decades earlier that died, but they never unofficially retired it, but no one took it since him, and that rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way. But yeah, you did not acknowledge the shit talking portion. Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers, beats the Jets by the skin of his teeth week 1, and he says in the press conference, "I'm happy to beat anyone associated with the New York Jets." And I'm like, "Really? Really? Dude, we gave you everything you wanted. We gave you at minimum, two receivers you wanted, probably like 3. We brought in the offensive coordinator you wanted. And you act like the Jets wronged you? You came here, listen, first year, you got hurt. Can't blame you there. Year 2, it's like, okay, you just sucked. Like, that was on you."
I didn't even remember that Rodgers started in 23. Like, because he didn't play, so obviously I'm not going to remember that much really as a non-Jets fan. And I didn't even realize that he played for you guys for 2 years technically. I completely forgot that he played that second season and just blew turkey.
Yeah, blue turkey. Yeah, that's quite the way to put it. But yeah, even in that second year, we got him Devontae Adams, and other than like maybe one great play they had against the Jaguars to steal a win there in Jacksonville, he was not the savior as advertised.
He wasn't kind of the like player how he was on the Packers. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. But yeah, Tim, you said you have an esports example of disappointment?
This okay. Anyone who knows in the beginning of like League of Legends esports, towards not the beginning, but like very early on, there's a team known as Team Solo Mid. They're the American team. Everyone's like, yeah, this is our team. There was not really a structure back then. It was more just one-off tournaments. And that's when I started watching, and I got really into this, like 2012, 2013. I really got into this, this esports organization. And for years and years, they were, the team to beat. There was years there where, they weren't number 1, but they were always top 3. Maybe, their worst run, they would, be 6th place, but they always made it to like the world championships. They never like made world finals or anything. But the point was that they were a really good team and for a long time. They had the biggest fan base. They pulled the biggest numbers whenever they would play. Everyone tuned in to watch. But then in 2021, 2022, the owner just decides we're not going to be part of the league anymore. We're selling our League of Legends team. What are you doing? This organization still exists to this day. They just have no ties to League of Legends anymore, and it breaks my heart. I have a jersey with my name on it. I have a poster of the emblem. I have a hoodie, and it's like they basically just destroyed their entire fan base. They had a subreddit on Reddit which had thousands upon thousands of people viewing it each day. How many are looking at it right now? 5. They're dead. It's unfortunate. And there was like this post at some point in time where the owner, his name is Reginald, no one really liked him. He was kind of a dick, and I agree. But he's like, oh, big update coming in January. We're still waiting for that update. It's been 5 years, Jack. 5 long years.
Oh my freaking God.
So that's where I'm very sad. That's my big disappointment. It's not even like necessarily a game or a season. It was this dynasty of this team that existed for so long and had these amazing fans, and they just shit on us. We were just put in the shitter. And it makes me very sad. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, just sounds like they were. Would you say they were the Yankees of the esports world? Like the most popular group?
You know what? Yes, I would say that.
Or like most popular or most loyal in a sense? Most loyal fan base?
No, I will say they're most popular because whenever they would be playing games, they would chant the TSM, Team Solo Mid. They would chant that. The crowd would chant TSM, and it would be a huge thing. Crowds would chant TSM and still sometimes do to this day in other countries, in Korea. And they don't exist over there, but just like the crowd is just going to start chanting it because it's so synonymous with League of Legends esports.
It did. Didn't they chant that when we went, when Justice and I went with you to the
Yes,
Prudential Center that one
we
time?
we chanted TSM. They weren't there, and they were dead at this. They were basically dead at that point too.
Oh, geez, I believe
Yep.
that. But yeah, I mean, another situation that reminds me of is the Brooklyn Dodgers when they left Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Obviously, way before our time, but the Dodgers, had a very loyal fan base in Brooklyn, and the owner of the team just wanted a new stadium. The city wouldn't pay for it. Well, actually, the city would pay for it, but the stadium would have been in Queens, and the owner was like, "If we go to Queens, we're not the Brooklyn Dodgers anymore." So they went to L.A. and yeah, that area in Queens would be where the New York Mets play right now, which is
Mm.
why a lot of Dodger fans, and a lot of New York baseball Giant fans. Not to be, yes, Tim, there was a New York Giants baseball team too, if you didn't know that.
Yeah, I did know about them. Yeah.
Yeah, there were three baseball teams in New York at one point. But yeah, basically the fans of the Giants and the Dodgers, were left without a team. And then when the Mets came along, a good amount of them ended up going to the Mets because they couldn't bring themselves to root for the Yankees.
Right.
But yeah, that's. But yeah,
It's like
that
if the
sucks.
Yankees today sold their team to
It just stopped existing.
exactly, just gone. It's it was that bad. Like to this day, people are just so like, man, I miss this team. I miss the players because none of the players really play anymore either. But like the fans are just like, man, it's not. And now
Not
like
the same.
it's not the same. The league is way different. They pull way less numbers. They have actually on the 26th of July, this coming up, they're doing a old TSM versus CLG, which is another old dynasty that we talked about last week. Actually, I brought up. They were the big rivals back then, and they're having a show match with old players from each team to have fun or whatever on the 26th. I can guarantee you this show match is going to outnumber every single game that has been played in the League of Legends uh, competitive scene in America anyway for the last like 3 years. I 100 no chance. I guarantee it's gonna have the most views because
Sounds
of the
like.
names.
Yeah, it's like the name brand recognition. But yeah, I got a couple other examples. Like, I'll go through them real quick. Because, like, to me, the biggest will always be the, you know, Aaron Rodgers running out there, 4 snaps, and then done. Another mention, like, these are, like, recent examples. Other example, Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees. I mean, going on, he's been fine when he's healthy. The problem is, he's hurt pretty much all the freaking time. He hasn't taken an at bat yet this year. And I was skeptic from the moment they signed him because the Yankees were, the year before, the Yankees were one win away from going to the World Series. And this is without Giancarlo Stanton. I'm like, all right, great. This is awesome. Just make some tweaks to the team. That's all you need to do. But adding Giancarlo Stanton, as great of a hitter that he is, it's kind of an overhaul of the lineup. Like that Yankees team in 2017 was more balanced for like contact and power. Now they bring in Stanton, they're sacrificing some of the contact for just flat out power. And here's the thing, Tim. Baseball stadiums are different. You know how football fields are all the same. Basketball courts are all the same. Hockey rinks are the same. Baseball, their outfields are different. Like the walls are always like any dimension you could pretty much make. Yankee Stadium is very favorable to left-handed hitters because it has a short porch in right field. So if you're a left-handed pull hitter, it's easier for you to hit home runs. What side of the plate do you think Giancarlo Stanton bats from?
Right.
Right. So it's like, okay, if you're going to load it power, aren't you going to try to put in more? Can't you put in more lefties? Like, I remember, like, they could have had Bryce Harper at that time, but apparently he was not a Yankee, according to someone. But now the Yankees and their front office, they're the Yankees in name only.
Oh, really? I-
That's
Is it
how I view them.
is it becoming just like, would you say the Yankees dynasty is kind of falling out?
Well, here's the thing. Kind of. They haven't won a World Series since 2009, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that bad. Like, you look at other teams, it's much worse. But let me put it this way, Tim. If the Yankees just suddenly stopped existing, like you said before, a lot of people would actually be happy because they're the most hated team in baseball. Because many decades ago, you go from like the 1920s to like the early 2000s or early 2010s, the Yankees, this was their mission statement: World Series or failure. Anything less than a World Series is a failure, and they have the right to say that because they've won more World Series than any other team in baseball. The next with 27, and listen, I'm not one of those Yankee fans that loves to be like 27 rings anytime like the team's bad. I think that's kind of a cop out of our argument, but that's just a. But I'm just saying, bringing it up because you're not a baseball fan like I am. This is just like more so me painting a picture for you. The team with the second most, the St. Louis Cardinals, the Yankees double their total.
Oh,
With
wow.
they have 11, if I'm not mistaken.
That's crazy.
Like more than double. Now the Yankees are just like, oh, we're okay if we get to the playoffs. Oh, it's okay. It's a crapshoot to get to the playoffs. The Yankees, you basically sell the farm to put the best team out there, and now the Dodgers pretty much took their place as the team that wants to just pay an arm and a leg and their kidneys for the top talent.
T-
And
this is what TSM used to do. They would attempt to field the best players that they could find, and then they said to themselves, if we don't make it to Worlds and try to win, it has been a failure. If they didn't make it to Worlds, it was a complete failure. Most of the time they made it, they'd never win because no North American team has ever won Worlds. But they always said, this is what we're trying to do. Here we have the best players in our region. This is what we want to do. And towards the end, it just wasn't like that anymore. It was just falling off. And I think part of it was that League of Legends esports, the money was just running out. Like, it wasn't as sustainable as it was in 2016, 2017. Some of these salaries, Jack, for like an esports player, people were getting millions of dollars a year.
mm,
It's not how it is anymore. They ran out of money.
do
But
they
like,
still make six figures
oh yeah,
or?
there is a
Okay.
minimum salary that every player makes, and then a lot of players do make six figures. Some players are making like 200K a year. It's not bad, but the mid laner for Team Solo Mid, his name is Bjergsen. He actually owned part of Team Solo Mid. He was making more than six figures a year. This guy was the player you wanted on your team. Oh, and he actually left like a few years before TSM really like just kind of dried up and died, and it's very sad, very sad.
It is. But yeah, I got one more sports example. I'll try to go through this quickly. This is very recent. The 2024-25 New York Rangers. I predicted this team would go and win the Stanley Cup this year. I thought after what they built the previous year, getting like 2 games shy of making it to the finals, that they were going to win it all. They lay a huge freaking egg. And it all started because the team had a bitch fit over them trading Barkley Goodrow. Now, Tim, I'll say this because I'm going to try to paint the picture for you because you're not a hockey guy like him. Barkley Goodrow, he's a solid hockey player. He was not, but two things. Well, he wasn't like a top six winger or top six forward. He's a bottom six player. Like there's 4 lines of forwards, basically. The fourth line, he was a fourth liner. If you're a fourth liner, your job is to go out there and set the tone, not necessarily to score goals. If you score a goal, great, but that they're not counting on you to score goals like, say, a top 6 forward they'd be asking. Barkley Goodrow was getting paid too much money for that role. The Rangers found Chris Drury, and listen, Chris Drury, I do not know what to feel about him. I like the moves he made this offseason, but the downfall of the Rangers, it's partially on him too. But the team just reacted so terribly to Barkley Goodrow being traded, and then eventually they traded Jacob Trouba, and they were basically like, oh, you traded my friends, and then they ended up finishing like near the bottom of the league.
Oof.
And some people might say like, oh, but Chris Drury, the way he handled that was poorly. I'm like, okay, I'll say Chris Drury, a lot of the moves he made, you can't defend every move. Like, I was so excited for Brendan Othman. I predicted he'd be our Sam Bennett or discount Matthew Tkachuk. He's duty and basically a career AHLer at best. I was wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong. But I want to compare it to the other team that plays at Madison Square Garden. So, Tim, you do know, obviously you know now the Knicks won the NBA Finals.
Yep, I do. Of course. Yep.
Okay. They have players on the team known as the Nova Knicks because they played together college basketball at Villanova. They won a national championship at Villanova. Those players included Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and another player named Dante DiVincenzo. At one point, all four of those guys were on the Knicks the past few years. And I don't remember if it was this past offseason or the offseason prior. The Knicks, traded Dante DiVincenzo, one of their good friends. Now, what I say that the Rangers did when they traded one of their friends?
They were very upset.
Yeah. What the Knicks do? They locked the fuck in. It's like, this sucks, I'm missing, but it's part of the business. We gotta freaking do. They're expecting a championship out of us. And they got it freaking done.
Was anybody expecting the Knicks to win?
They were expecting them to be good in a playoff team. But, I mean, they went to the conference finals last year, but, freaking Thibodeau was a good coach, but, wasn't the best coach necessarily. Then they bring in Mike Brown, who was basically like, he was seen as like a perennial loser at the time. Like, he's coached a bunch of teams, couldn't get them over the hump. Like, he's even coached some elite talent, but he had a formula that just worked with these guys, and they became a freaking unit. And they dominated a very young Spurs team in the finals. They had a the biggest comeback in NBA Finals history in Game 4, and they got it done.
Was it like 50-something points or 40-something points in Game 4?
I think it was like
52, maybe.
How big was the Knicks comeback Game 4?
I think it was 50. I want to say 52 points.
29.
Okay, I'm way off. My bad.
I was gonna
52 points would have been insane, especially in basketball.
No, 50. Yeah, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Knicks, understood. That's part of the business. The Rangers, chose the worst route possible. They just imploded on themselves. And listen, and for the third time, I'm saying I'm not a Chris Drury. Like, I'm not going to defend the Chris Drury to the death. But Drury probably went to James Dolan, the owner of the Rangers and the Knicks. He owns both teams. He probably went to James and was like, Jim, you have to let me blow this up. Yeah. This team is not good enough to beat the Panthers. And like, the Panthers are kind of like the class of the league right now. They're probably the only reason they didn't make a run this year is because they were dealing with a lot of injuries, and now they made their team even better with Matthew Tkachuk's brother, Brady Tkachuk. Now they're both on the same team, and I'm like, oh geez, just give them the Prince of Wales trophy now. But yeah, that's my final example as far as sports go. Tim, you got another?
No, not really. The whole TSM dynasty is really all I can really think of. I can't think of any players that were big flops. I'm sure there are big flops in the esports world when it comes to League of Legends. I have another one. I just remembered. Okay, so remember how we talked about CLG? Well, they're a big dynasty. They don't exist anymore. Whatever. At one point in time, very early on in League of Legends, probably this is 20.
Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, Counter Logic Gaming, CLG. Okay. So 2014, 2015, Korea is the best region in the world. And what players and teams would do is go to Korea, boot camp there for a month to play against the best players, really learn. They would play against other teams in scrimmages, things like that, to really lock in. So what CLG did was, it's 2 weeks or maybe it was 3 weeks or a month or something like that before the finals for the North American champion, just the more North American championships. So they locked in that they were already going to go to playoffs. So the entire main team is like, we're going to go to Korea during playoffs because we're in during the rest of the season games before playoffs. And we're going to go play against the best players in the world. We're going to come back to North America and dumpster everyone and win the championship. So they field a roster of their backups, 5 people for 2 weeks. They win one game. They go 1-3, but it doesn't matter. CLG at this point is it's fine. They didn't care. They were like, that's fine. We're gonna still.
It's like you locked in it's like in the NFL, like you just rest your starters. Like, okay, we clinched the first round by rest the starters.
Exactly. So they rested their starters, but not really rested because they wanted to go get better in Korea. They came back and got obliterated in the first time for playoffs and got knocked out. It was the funniest thing ever, especially as a TSM fan at the time. We were like, you guys are so stupid. But
this sounds like the 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning. Tim, Tampa Bay Lightning set a record for, points in the season, I think, or they might have, I forget which. But listen, they won the President's Trophy. That's for like the most points in the league. Like a win is 2 points, a loss in overtime is 1 point, a loss in regulation is 0 points. The Tampa Bay Lightning had a legendary season. First round of the playoffs, they didn't win a single game. They got swept. They got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets, and who at the time did not win had no playoff wins in their no playoff series wins in their entire existence.
Wow.
Until then. It was humiliating. It was funny to laugh at the Lightning, but at the same time, it lit a fire under their ass because then they went on to win back-to-back Stanley Cups and went to the Stanley Cup 3 years in a row. They went the year after winning the back-to-back cup, but they lost to the Colorado Avalanche.
No, back. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the biggest? What's the longest streak of winning the Stanley Cup for a team?
4. I know the Habs did it in the late 70s. The last team in professional sports to win 4 is the New York Islanders from the early 80s. And that's one, I like to refer to the Islanders as the peaked in high school franchise because, they existed for a shorter time, but they try to be per capita. The Rangers and Islanders both have the same amount of Stanley Cups. They both have 4. At one time, the Islanders did have more because the Rangers had a cup drought for 54 years.
Right.
But, Islanders try to be we have a higher winning percentage, blah, blah, blah. Because in the 80s...
technically played.
Less seasons, yeah.
Yeah, less seasons.
But in the early 80s, the Islanders won 4 straight Stanley Cups. They could have won 5. They went to the Stanley Cup final in 1984, but they lost to the Oilers, who they beat in 83, but they lost to the Oilers in 84. That's still a record. 19 straight Stanley Cup playoff series wins. Very impressive. But, they really haven't been relevant since then. They haven't been to the Stanley Cup since 1984, so I like to call them the peaked in high school franchise and then the college dropout.
Dang. Is the Stanley Cup the same Stanley Cup as original? Or has it have been renewed at all?
I mean, I think there's 2. I think there's 2 total. One might just be for display, but yes, in general, there is 1 trophy, and they engrave the team and your name on it. Your name is on that thing forever. Basically, there's rings on it, and whenever they run out of room, they remove the oldest ring on there, put the new one on, and then they take the ring that was removed and put it in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is. I've been to the Hall of Fame. I've seen the ones that they removed. It's sick to see in person. But yeah, you could, I could see the 1994 New York Rangers entire roster on that trophy. Mark Messier, Brian Leach, Adam Graves, Mike Richter, etc., etc.
Oh.
But yeah, before we wrap up, I do got some, quick pop culture ones. Examples of letdowns. There's no bigger movie letdown. There's no movie I hate more.
The Room.
Than No, I love the room. The
I know,
room,
I know. The room is great.
but there's no movie I hate more. The final film in the Raimi-verse, Spider-Man 3. Because of what they did with the source material, how they butchered, some of the characters. And I understand there was a lot of production problems with it, but no. Spider-Man 2 to this day is my favorite superhero movie of all time. I fell for the ruse, like being in middle school. This movie's gonna be better than both of them. And I remember walking out of the theater as a kid just being like, it was okay. And then as an adult, it finally settled in like, Jack, this movie sucks.
Jack, I don't think Spider-Man 3 came out when we were in middle school.
2007.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right. Yeah, it was 2007.
But yeah, and I don't know if this necessarily counts because I was expecting this to be bad, so it wasn't necessarily a disappointment. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014. Tim, you and I saw it in theaters. And I remember when they changed the origin story to the Turtles, instead of, being the pets to some random kid who... I mean, there's two different versions of their... There's two different origins. One is the cartoon where, a kid, accidentally drops them in a sewer or something, and they crawl into the ooze. Basically, it's two different versions of the ooze. The ooze turns you into, whatever animal you were, closest to, or, the ooze just, mutates you in some way, shape, or form. The comic and, the 4 Kids series, the ooze took, an animal and made you, humanoid or something. The Turtles were, Splinter was a rat in the comics and whatnot. Whereas, the cartoon that everyone loves from, the 80s and whatnot, the ooze turns you into, whatever animal you're closest to. Splinter was Hamato Yoshi, so Splinter was a human at first, and he was close with the rats. That's why he turned into a rat, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that they made the Turtles April O'Neil's pets and lab experiments, Tim, do you remember just me slowly turning my head to you in the theater and just seething in rage,
I do remember this. Yes, you were very, very angry. I was just going into that movie because I didn't really care for TMNT when I was a kid, but I was like, I'm just gonna watch this movie for Megan Fox. That's why I watched the movie.
I hated that casting choice.
Oh, she was a terrible cast for April. Terrible. They needed a redhead.
Yeah. Get Anna Kendrick in there. She would have been perfect.
Hell, even wait, when did TMNT? It came out in 2014. So I guess Kirsten Dunst was kind of past her prime.
What? Listen. No TMNT movie will ever top the 1990 one. Okay. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah, no, I did, but I don't know what happened in the 1990s one.
It was just awesome. The 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie was awesome. They were actually there, not CGI. That was Jim Henson's. You know who Jim Henson is, right?
Yes.
That was his last project before he died.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the guy who does Elmo was Splinter. Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
All right. Let's get into these questions. This isn't a sports question. It comes from @Liam_bar15 on Instagram. I think this is a friend of Tom's. What does success in life look like to you? Asking everyone.
Success,
very deep question.
That's a deep question that we could talk about for hours. But currently, to me, it's my wife being healthy and my soon-to-be baby being healthy and being able to provide for them.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm thinking. The 3 triangles: your health, your family, and the ability to provide.
And getting fucking sick ass abs, bro. Getting swole in the gym.
I need to. But anyway, we do have a voicemail this week. All right. Here we go.
Hey, it's Zach Daniels calling in and asking, what athlete do you think of when I say the word bumfuzzle? Bye.
Oh, special guest Zach.
I think Zach's bored on paternity leave right now.
Hey, he's not getting any pay from NTS. Unfortunately, NTS does not provide paternity leave value.
Not yet. Not yet. we need people to be like, these guys are funny. Let's listen to them. But to answer the question, bumfuzzle, and I feel like Zach, you know what you freaking did, because bumfuzzle sounds like butt fumble, and I think of Mark Sanchez running into his own lineman's ass and fumbling on Thanksgiving 2012.
Bumfuzzle. I'm gonna say, bumfuzzle reminds me of. Was it the Bears just a few years ago on Thanksgiving, when they were just like, let's keep. Was it the Bears, and it was the young rookie quarterback, and he just like runs the timeout. Did this happen? Was this the Bears?
I don't know. Could have this been Trubisky? I feel like I have a vague memory of it, but I don't really know right now. But
I think it was this last. It was either. It was 2 Thanksgiving games ago.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. This was against the Detroit Lions, if I remember correctly. Was this Caleb Williams? Hold on.
I think it's Caleb Williams. It was Caleb Williams.
Bears, Lions, Thanksgiving clock.
Yep. This is exactly what I think of. I think of Caleb Williams. Not only because I hate the Bears, but because what are you doing?
Okay, now I remember. Okay, thank you, Google AI overview. So give me a summary, because like now I remember this. Freaking the Bears lost 23-20 to the Lions. Matt Eberflus chose not to call their final timeout with 36 seconds remaining, and the clock ran out before the Bears could snap the ball on 3rd down.
On 3rd down.
Wow.
He could have spiked it.
Here's the thing. This isn't news to me. Like I remember watching this. Like I just completely forgot about it but like, wow, dude. No, if he did spike it, it would have been 4th down, Tim.
Yeah, but at least you still have the clock stopped and you have a chance.
Yeah. But yeah, that does it for, the voicemails. I'll do my best to, summarize how you could leave a voicemail. Tommy usually does that. But every week when we record, we'll post on our stories on Instagram and Facebook. There will be a box where you could type in a question, and there will also be a link where you could leave a voicemail and get heard on the show. Simply click the link and click the microphone in the bottom right corner to leave a voicemail. So we're going to wrap it up, but I do have one funny story, Tim.
All right.
My sister-in-law's baby shower was on Sunday. Yes, my wife and her sister are both pregnant at the same time. It's pretty cool. And we see her aunt, and she comes to congratulate us too. And she says her son Josh is like called her one day. Was like, "What were you going to tell me that they were pregnant?" And I think she said something along the lines of like, "How'd you know?" And he said like he listened to the podcast. I'm like, wow.
Oh my god!
Shout out to I guess my cousin-in-law Josh Deanna for being a NTS listener.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes, but if you made it this far, thank you again to Recoil Garage for sponsoring this episode. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at Nerds Talking Sports and on Twitter and Instagram at N_T_S_podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. This is Jackknife along with Timmy Horton. Have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.